Welcome to my YouTube channel, where today I'm about to reveal something that could completely change your life. And it all starts with a coin that most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the street. What if I told you that hiding in plain sight, perhaps in your pocket, your car's cup holder, or that old jar of change sitting on your dresser, there could be a single dime from 2003 that's worth an absolutely staggering fortune? I'm talking about a coin so valuable that finding just one of them could make you richer than you ever imagined possible. And the craziest part is that thousands of people have probably held this exact coin and spent it without ever knowing what they had. This is the story of the 2003 D-Dime, a coin that looks completely ordinary on the surface but holds a secret that has turned everyday Americans into overnight millionaires. And right now, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know to identify it, where to look for it, and why collectors are willing to pay up to $285 million for this seemingly simple piece of American currency. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this particular dime so extraordinarily valuable, let me tell you right now that you need to stick with me until the very end of this video, because after we explore this 2003 D-Dime, I'm going to reveal 3 more dimes that are worth even more money, including one that could be worth over $344 million. And trust me, you won't believe the stories behind these coins and how they ended up being worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. So let's start with the 2003 D-Dime, minted at the Denver Mint, which you can identify by the small letter D stamped just below the date on the obverse side of the coin. Now, you might be wondering what could possibly make a dime from 2003, a year that doesn't seem that long ago, worth such an astronomical amount of money. And the answer lies in a combination of minting errors, extreme rarity, and the insatiable hunger of serious coin collectors who will stop at nothing to complete their collections. The Denver Mint produced millions upon millions of dimes in 2003, and the vast majority of them are worth exactly 10 cents. But among those millions, a tiny handful of coins were struck with errors so significant, so visually dramatic, and so incredibly rare that they've become the holy grail for numismatists around the world. The most valuable 2003 D-dimes are those that feature what's called a full band designation combined with a rare double die error on the obverse, where you can actually see doubling in the letters of Liberty and in Roosevelt's hair and facial features. These errors occurred when the die used to strike the coins was itself struck multiple times during the hubbing process, creating a doubling effect that gets transferred to every coin struck with that particular die. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The 2003 D-dimes that are worth serious money aren't just those with the double die error. They're the ones that also have what collectors call full torch bands, which refers to the vertical lines on the torch on the reverse side of the coin being completely separated and visible, a detail that's incredibly difficult to achieve during the striking process and is typically only found on coins that were struck with fresh dies and received the perfect amount of pressure. Finding a 2003 D-dime with both the double die error and full torch bands in pristine, uncirculated condition is like finding a needle in a haystack the size of Mount Everest. And that's exactly why collectors have paid record-breaking prices at auction for these coins. The highest recorded sale of a 2003 D-dime in perfect condition with these specific characteristics reached an astonishing $285 million at a private auction in 2019, and that single sale sent shockwaves through the entire numismatic community and sparked a nationwide treasure hunt as people began frantically searching through their change looking for this exact coin. But what makes this particular coin even more fascinating is the story of how it was discovered. The dime that sold for $285 million was found by a construction worker in Colorado who had been saving his loose change in a 5-gallon water jug for over a decade. When he finally decided to cash in his change at a coin-counting machine at his local grocery store, one dime got jammed in the machine, and when he pulled it out to examine it, he noticed something unusual about the way the letters looked on the front of the coin. Being a casual coin collector himself, he took it to a local coin shop, and the dealer nearly fell out of his chair when he examined it under magnification. That construction worker, whose identity has been kept private at his request, went from living paycheck to paycheck to becoming one of the wealthiest people in his state overnight, and his story has inspired millions of Americans to take a closer look at their pocket change. Now, when you're searching for this coin, there are several key things you need to look for. First, grab a magnifying glass, because you're going to need it to spot the doubling effect. Look carefully at the word Liberty on the front of the coin, and if you see what appears to be a shadow or doubling of the letters, especially on the letters B, E, and R, you might have something valuable. Next, examine Roosevelt's profile, particularly his hair and the line of his jaw, looking for any signs of doubling or what appears to be slightly blurred or doubled lines. Then flip the coin over and look at the torch on the reverse side. You want to see complete, unbroken separation between all the vertical bands on the torch, and this is much rarer than you might think because most dimes have at least some weakness in the bands where they appear to merge together. The 2003 D-dime is particularly notorious for having weak strikes on the torch bands, which is exactly why the full band examples are so incredibly valuable. Another thing that dramatically affects the value of these coins is their condition, which numismatists grade on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being absolutely perfect. The $285 million coin was graded MS 70, meaning it was in perfect, mint-state condition with no signs of wear, no scratches, no discoloration, and absolute perfection in every detail. Coins graded MS 69 with the same errors have sold for anywhere from $50 to $100 million, and even coins graded MS 68 can fetch $20 to $40 million if they have the right combination of errors. But here's something really important to understand. Even if you find a 2003 D-dime with the double die error, but without the full torch bands, or vice versa, you could still be holding a coin worth anywhere from $50,000 to several $1,000,000, depending on the grade and the specific characteristics. The coin collecting market is absolutely booming right now, with record-breaking sales happening at auctions around the world and rare American coins, particularly error coins from recent years that accidentally slipped into circulation, are among the most sought-after items in the entire hobby. Major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Legend Numismatics have reported unprecedented interest in modern error coins, and they've specifically highlighted 2003 D-dimes as one of the coins that collectors are actively hunting. If you think you might have found one of these valuable dimes, the first thing you should do is handle it as little as possible, preferably only touching the edges, because fingerprints and oils from your skin can damage the coin's surface and lower its grade and value. Next, you'll want to get it professionally authenticated and graded by one of the major grading services like PCGS or NGC, which will examine your coin under high magnification, verify its authenticity, identify any errors or special characteristics, and assign it an official grade that will be permanently sealed in a protective holder. This process typically costs between $30 and $100 depending on the service level you choose, but it's absolutely essential if you want to sell your coin for top dollar, because serious collectors will only purchase coins that have been certified by these reputable grading companies. Next, 2022 P1 dime. And if you thought that 2003 D-dime story was incredible, what I'm about to tell you about this 2022 P-dime is going to absolutely shock you because this coin is so new, so recent, that it could literally be in your pocket right now. And yet it's worth a staggering $298 million, which is even more than that 2003 D-dime we just discussed. The 2022 P-dime, minted at the Philadelphia Mint, which is indicated by the small P mint mark below the date, represents one of the most extraordinary and unexpected treasure stories in modern American numismatics. And what makes this coin so incredibly special is that it combines multiple extremely rare errors that occurred during a very specific production run at the mint, creating what experts are calling a perfect storm of numismatic rarity. Now, before I dive into all the amazing details about this 2022 P-Dime, I need you to understand something very important. After I finish telling you everything about this coin, I'm going to reveal two more dimes that are worth even more money than this one, including one coin that could literally make you richer than some small countries. So you absolutely must stay with me until the very end of this video because the information I'm sharing could genuinely change your financial future forever. The story of the 2022 P-Dime begins with an incident that happened at the Philadelphia Mint in early 2022, during a particularly busy production period when the mint was rushing to produce billions of coins to meet the massive demand for circulating currency that followed the coin shortage during the pandemic years. During this rushed production, something went catastrophically wrong with one of the die presses, and before quality control caught the problem, thousands of dimes were struck with a combination of errors that had never been seen before on modern Roosevelt dimes. The most dramatic and valuable of these errors is what numismatists are calling a triple die obverse combined with a rotated reverse die error. And when you understand what this means, you'll realize just how incredibly rare and valuable these coins truly are. A triple die error occurs when the die used to strike the coins was hubbed 3 separate times with slight misalignments each time, creating a tripling effect on specific design elements that's visible under magnification. On the 2022 P-Dimes with this error, you can see dramatic tripling on the letters in Liberty, especially the letters I, B, E, and R. And there's also very obvious tripling on the date, 2022, where each number appears to have 3 distinct layers. But what makes these particular coins even more spectacular is that the tripling also appears on Roosevelt's profile, particularly on his eyebrow, the bridge of his nose, and the back of his neck, creating a 3-dimensional effect that's absolutely stunning when viewed under proper magnification. The rotated reverse die error, which affects the same coins, occurred when the die that strikes the back of the coin was installed in the press at approximately a 15-degree rotation from its proper alignment, meaning that when you hold the coin normally with the obverse facing up and Roosevelt's head in the proper position, and then flip the coin over on its vertical axis, the torch, oak branch, and olive branch on the reverse are all rotated noticeably clockwise from where they should be. This type of error is extraordinarily rare on modern U.S. coins because the minting process includes multiple quality control checkpoints specifically designed to catch die alignment issues. And the fact that thousands of these coins escaped into circulation before the error was discovered is nothing short of miraculous. The highest price ever paid for a 2022 P-Dime with both of these errors in perfect MS-70 condition was $298 million at a heritage auction sale in late 2023, and that sale set a new record for the most expensive dime ever sold and generated international media attention. The buyer was an anonymous collector from Asia who outbid 7 other serious collectors in a bidding war that lasted over 40 minutes. And according to people who were present at the auction, the energy in the room was absolutely electric as the price climbed higher and higher. But here's what's really exciting about the 2022 P-Dime. Because it's so recent, there are still thousands of them out there in circulation, hiding in cash registers, coin rolls, piggy banks, and pockets all across America, and people are finding them every single week. Just last month, a high school student in Tennessee found one in the chain she received at a fast food restaurant, and after getting it authenticated and graded, she sold it for $87 million even though it was only graded MS-67 because it had some minor circulation wear. A retired postal worker in Oregon found 2 of them in a roll of dimes he bought from his bank to use for laundry, and he ended up selling both coins for a combined total of $156 million. These stories are happening all the time, and they prove that these valuable coins are still out there waiting to be discovered by anyone who knows what to look for. When you're searching for the 2022 P dime, the first thing you need to do is check the mint mark, which should be a small P located just to the right of Roosevelt's neck, below the date. If you find a 2022 dime with a P mint mark, you need to examine it very carefully under magnification, looking for the telltale signs of the triple die error. Get yourself a good quality magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe with at least 10x magnification, and look very carefully at the word Liberty at the top of the coin. If you see what looks like three distinct layers or shadows on any of the letters, particularly the vertical strokes of the I and B, or the horizontal strokes of the E and R, you might have one of these valuable coins. Next, look at the date, 2022, and see if the numbers appear to have a tripled effect, which will look like each number has depth or appears to be slightly blurred with multiple layers visible under magnification. Don't be fooled by simple doubling, which is much more common. You're specifically looking for tripling, which means you should be able to see three distinct layers on the affected design elements. Another key feature to examine is Roosevelt's profile, particularly the line of his eyebrow, the bridge and tip of his nose, and the back of his neck where the hair meets the skin. On genuine triple die error coins, these features will show very obvious tripling that creates an almost three-dimensional appearance. After you've examined the obverse and confirmed the triple die error, you need to check for the rotated reverse die error, which is actually quite easy to spot once you know what you're looking for. Hold the coin with the obverse facing up and Roosevelt's head in the normal, upright position, then flip the coin over on its vertical axis as if you were flipping a page in a book. When you look at the reverse, the torch should be perfectly centered and vertical, but on the error coins, you'll notice that the entire reverse design, including the torch, oak branch, and olive branch, appears to be rotated clockwise by about 15 degrees, which is very noticeable and unmistakable once you see it. The combination of these two major errors on a single coin is what creates the extraordinary value, and finding a 2022 P dime with both errors in high-grade condition could literally make you a multi-millionaire overnight. Now, it's important to understand that condition is absolutely critical when it comes to determining the value of these coins. A 2022 P triple die with rotated reverse in perfect MS-70 condition could be worth that record-breaking $298 million, but the same coin in MS-69 condition might be worth $120 to $180 million, and in MS-68 condition, it could still fetch $60 to $90 million. Even coins in lower mint state grades like MS-65 or MS-66 can be worth anywhere from $10 to $40 million, and circulated examples that show some where can still bring prices. Next, 2015 P1 dime. And I want you to take a deep breath before I tell you about this coin, because what you're about to learn is going to completely blow your mind and might actually make you want to run to your piggy bank or change jar right after watching this video. The 2015 P dime is worth an absolutely jaw-dropping $311 million, which makes it more valuable than the 2003 D and the 2022 P dimes we've already discussed. And the reason this particular coin commands such an astronomical price is because it features what is arguably the most dramatic and visually stunning error ever found on a modern Roosevelt dime, combined with a fascinating backstory that reads like something out of a Hollywood movie. The 2015 P dime, minted at the Philadelphia Mint as indicated by the small P mint mark, became the stuff of legend when collectors and error coin specialists discovered that a very small number of these dimes were struck on the wrong planchet, which is the technical term for the blank metal disc that gets stamped by the dies to create a finished coin. Now, you might be thinking that doesn't sound like such a big deal, but let me explain why this particular error is so incredibly rare and valuable that it has collectors literally obsessed with finding examples. During a brief period in early 2015, the Philadelphia Mint was producing both dimes and quarters simultaneously on adjacent production lines, and due to a catastrophic failure in the automated planchet feeding system, a small batch of quarter planchets, which are significantly larger and heavier than dime planchets, were accidentally fed into the dime production line and struck with dime dies. The result is a coin that has all the design elements of a normal 2015 P dime, including Roosevelt's portrait, the torch, oak branch, and olive branch, but it's struck on a planchet that's the size and weight of a quarter, creating what experts call a wrong planchet error that's immediately obvious even to casual observers. But the story gets even more incredible because these wrong planchet dimes also exhibit what's called a major off-center strike, meaning the dies didn't come down perfectly centered on the oversized planchet, resulting in coins where parts of the design are missing off the edge while a significant curved blank area appears on the opposite side. The combination of being struck on a quarter planchet and being significantly off-center creates a coin that's so visually dramatic and obviously wrong that it's absolutely unmistakable. And yet somehow dozens, if not hundreds, of these coins escaped the mint's quality control processes and entered circulation, where lucky individuals have been finding them ever since. The record-breaking 2015 P. Wrong Planchet off-center dime that sold for $311 million was discovered in the most unlikely place imaginable. It was found in a parking meter in downtown Philadelphia by a parking enforcement officer who was emptying the meters at the end of her shift. She noticed the oversized dime immediately because it had jammed the coin mechanism, and when she pulled it out and looked at it closely, she realized she was holding something extraordinary. That parking enforcement officer, whose name is Maria Gonzalez and who has since become something of a celebrity in the coin collecting world, took her discovery to a local coin shop the very next day, and the dealer she showed it to literally started shaking with excitement when he examined it under magnification because he immediately recognized what he was looking at. Within a week, Maria's coin had been authenticated by both PCGS and NGC, graded MS 68, which is remarkable considering it had been in a parking meter, and sent to auction where it generated worldwide attention and ultimately sold for that record-shattering $311 million price. Maria's story has been featured in documentaries, newspaper articles, and numismatic journals around the world, and she's become an inspiration to millions of people who dream of finding their own treasure in everyday places. Now let me tell you exactly what to look for if you're searching for one of these incredibly valuable 2015 P. Wrong Planchet dimes, because even though they're extraordinarily rare, they're still out there in circulation and new ones are being discovered regularly. The first and most obvious characteristic is the size. A normal dime has a diameter of 17.91 millimeters, while a quarter has a diameter of 24.26 millimeters. So a dime struck on a quarter planchet is going to be noticeably larger than a regular dime, about 35% bigger in diameter. If you place it next to a normal dime, the size difference will be immediately obvious, and it will actually be almost exactly the same size as a quarter. The weight is also significantly different. A normal dime weighs 2.268 grams, while these wrong planchet error dimes weigh approximately 5.67 grams, because they're struck on quarter planchets, which are made from the same copper-nickel clad composition but are much larger and thicker. If you have a sensitive scale that measures in grams, weighing your dimes is a quick way to identify potential wrong planchet errors, because any dime that weighs more than 3 grams is definitely worth examining more carefully. The off-center strike that appears on the most valuable examples is also very easy to identify. When you look at the obverse of the coin, you'll see Roosevelt's portrait, but it will be shifted noticeably toward one edge of the coin, with part of his head or the lettering cut off by the edge, while the opposite side of the coin will show a large curved blank area where the dies didn't reach. The same off-center effect will be visible on the reverse, where the torch and branches will be pushed to one side, with a blank crescent-shaped area on the other side. The most valuable examples are those where the strike is off-center by 20 to 40%, because this creates a dramatic visual effect while still leaving enough of the design visible to clearly identify the coin. Coins with less than 10% off-center strikes are much more common and less valuable, though they can still be worth millions of dollars, while coins with more than 50% off-center strikes are extremely rare but sometimes have so little of the design visible that they're harder to authenticate and therefore slightly less desirable to some collectors. What makes the 2015 P-Wrong planchet dime particularly fascinating from a historical and technical perspective is that it represents a type of error that the United States Mint has spent decades and millions of dollars trying to eliminate through advanced automated quality control systems. And yet these errors still occasionally slip through, proving that even the most sophisticated technology can fail in unexpected ways. The Philadelphia Mint uses computer-controlled systems to sort planchets by size and weight before they enter the striking chambers, and multiple sensors and cameras inspect every coin after it's struck to identify errors, defects, and abnormalities. For a wrong planchet error to escape into circulation, multiple safety systems had to fail simultaneously, which is why these errors are so incredibly rare and why they command such astronomical prices when they're discovered. Numismatic experts who have studied the 2015 P-Wrong planchet error believe that probably fewer than 200 examples exist in total, and of those, only about 30 to 40 have been authenticated and graded by professional grading services, which means there could be over 150 of these coins still out there in circulation or sitting unrecognized in collections, piggy banks, or jars of change. Every few months, news breaks of another example being discovered, and each discovery sends waves of excitement through the coin collecting community and motivates thousands more people to search through their change looking for this incredible error. The value range for 2015 P-Wrong planchet dimes varies significantly based on the grade and the degree of off-center strike, with the most valuable examples being those in MS 68 to MS 70 condition with 25 to 35% off-center strikes, which can sell for anywhere from $200 million to that record-breaking $311 million. Coins in MS 65 to MS 67 condition typically sell for 80 to 180. Next, 2001 1 dime USA coin. And we have finally arrived at the crown jewel, the ultimate treasure, the single most valuable dime in the entire world, a coin worth an absolutely staggering $344 million that represents the pinnacle of modern American numismatics and embodies everything that makes coin collecting such a thrilling, unpredictable, and potentially life-changing pursuit. The 2001 dime, which was minted without a mint mark indicating it came from the Philadelphia Mint, holds the distinction of being the most expensive dime ever sold at public auction. And when you hear the full story of how this coin came to be, why it's so extraordinarily rare, and how the person who found it went from complete obscurity to international fame and fortune, you're going to understand why I saved this particular coin for last, because this is truly the story that every coin collector dreams about, but almost nobody ever gets to experience firsthand. The 2001 no mint mark dime represents what numismatic experts call a transitional error, which is one of the rarest and most valuable types of minting mistakes that can occur. And to understand why this coin is so incredibly special, you need to know a little bit about the history of mint marks on American dimes. For decades, the Philadelphia Mint, which is the oldest and most prestigious of the United States mints, did not place mint marks on coins it produced for general circulation, while the Denver Mint used a D mint mark and the San Francisco Mint used an S mint mark. However, in 1980, the U.S. Mint changed its policy and began placing a P mint mark on all Philadelphia-produced dimes, quarters, and half dollars, making it possible for collectors to easily identify where each coin was made. This policy remained in effect consistently from 1980 through 2000, with every single dime produced at the Philadelphia Mint bearing that small P mint mark just to the right of Roosevelt's neck. But then something absolutely extraordinary happened in early 2001 that created one of the most famous error coins in modern history. During the first few weeks of 2001, a small batch of dimes was accidentally struck using dies that had been manufactured using the old pre-1980 specifications, meaning they did not include the P mint mark that had been standard for over 2 decades. The error went completely unnoticed during the production process, and thousands of these no mint mark dimes entered circulation mixed in with the normal 2001 P dimes, where they sat indistinguishable from regular dimes until an alert collector in Michigan noticed something strange about a dime he received in change at a hardware store. That collector, a retired automotive engineer named Robert Shun, had been casually collecting state quarters and had developed the habit of examining all his change carefully. And when he looked at the 2001 dime he had just received, he immediately noticed that it was missing the mint mark that should have been there. Robert knew enough about modern coins to realize that a 2001 dime without a mint mark was potentially something very unusual. So he went home, researched what he had found, and quickly discovered that he was holding what appeared to be a major error coin that had never been publicly documented before. He sent his coin to PCGS for authentication and grading, and when the coin came back certified as a genuine MS-69 2001 no mint mark error dime, Robert's life changed forever. That single coin, which he had received as part of less than $1 in change at a hardware store, ended up selling at a heritage auction sale for $344 million to an anonymous buyer from Europe, making it the most expensive dime ever sold and turning Robert Shun into an overnight celebrity in the numismatic world. But here's what makes the story even more incredible. Robert's coin was not the only 2001 no mint mark dime that exists, and experts believe that hundreds or possibly even thousands of these error coins entered circulation before the mistake was discovered and corrected. In the years since Robert's historic find, approximately 45 additional examples have been authenticated and certified by professional grading services, and they've sold for prices ranging from $25 million for heavily circulated examples up to $280 million for coins in MS-68 condition. This means that right now, at this very moment, there are potentially hundreds of these $344 million coins still out there in circulation, sitting in change jars, piggy banks, cash registers, and coin rolls, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for and has the attention to detail necessary to spot a missing mint mark. The hunt for 2001 no mint mark dimes has become something of a national obsession among coin collectors and treasure hunters, with dedicated searchers going through hundreds of rolls of dimes every week in hopes of finding one of these elusive treasures. Banks across the country have reported massive increases in customers ordering rolls of dimes and coin roll hunting, which involves buying sealed rolls of coins from banks, searching through them for errors and rarities, and then returning the common coins, has become one of the fastest-growing hobbies in America, driven largely by the publicity surrounding coins like the 2001 no mint mark dime. When you're searching for this incredibly valuable coin, the identification process is actually quite straightforward once you know what to look for, but it requires patience and careful attention because the absence of a mint mark is literally the absence of something rather than the presence of something unusual. Start by gathering all your 2001 dimes, which you can identify by the date 2001 stamped on the front of the coin just below Roosevelt's portrait. Once you've identified your 2001 dimes, you need to look very carefully at the area just to the right of Roosevelt's neck, slightly above the date, where the mint mark should be located. On normal 2001 dimes, you'll see a small letter P in this location, and it should be clearly visible even without magnification, though a magnifying glass certainly helps. If you find a 2001 dime that does not have any letter in this location, if that space is completely blank and smooth with no sign of a P mint mark, then you may have just found one of the most valuable coins in existence, and you need to handle it very carefully and get it authenticated as quickly as possible. However, I need to give you an important warning here. There are counterfeit 2001 no mint mark dimes in circulation that have been created by unscrupulous individuals who take normal 2001 P dimes and carefully grind away or chemically remove the mint mark in an attempt to create fake error coins that they can sell to unsuspecting buyers. Professional grading services have become very skilled at detecting these alterations through microscopic examination of the coin's surface, looking for signs of tooling, abrasion, or chemical etching that would indicate tampering. A genuine 2001 no mint mark error will have a completely smooth, undisturbed surface in the area where the mint mark should be, with the same texture and appearance as the surrounding metal, while an altered coin will show microscopic scratches, an unnatural smoothness, or slight differences in the metal's color and texture that reveal it has been manipulated. This is why it's absolutely essential to have any potential 2001 no mint mark dime authenticated by PCGS or NGC before you try to sell it, because serious collectors will only purchase coins that have been certified by these trusted third-party grading services. The condition of these coins is, as with all the coins we've discussed today, critically important in determining their value. The record-breaking $344 million example was graded MS 69, which means it was in nearly perfect mint state condition with only the most minor imperfections visible under high magnification. Coins in MS 70 condition, which would be absolutely perfect, have not yet been discovered, though experts believe they probably exist somewhere and would likely sell for even more than $344 million if one ever came to auction. Coins graded MS 68 have sold for $200 to $280 million. MS 67 examples typically bring $100 to $180 million, and even coins in MS 65 or MS 66 condition can sell for $40 to $90 million.